The 2021 Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 2, Filmvolt 12 Hours of Silverstone, is brought to you in partnership with ESTV, Leak Gaming, SimLab, Motorvision.tv, Global Flix, Racing for Green, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last 2 hours of the 12 hours, the Filmvolt 12 Hours of Silverstone, here on GTR 24H. And let's just have a look at a massive. We've just seen a massive incident on a replay, and this is where it all went nearly wrong for the leaders. Just having a look right now. Now the replay. Hemmingson was making his way through traffic. There was a couple of cars ahead, and that was an the Viaducton car and the 41 Mugen Sim Racing car. That was the bright orange Corvette and the McLaren. Got tangled up. It took the LMP2 car, and then Martin Hemmingson had the foresight to navigate his way through that. Oh my goodness me, Ewan O'Leary, that was a crazy moment for Martin Hemmingson, wasn't it?
That was incredible, really. I mean, I can't quite believe the look that they've had. I mean, they've driven so well so far in this race. To have a 3.5 lap lead at this point, it's really quite incredible, the way they've been driving. But sometimes you've just got to have that little bit of luck to really get you through the particular race. I'm just trying to really piece together how it started, really. Was it Hemmingson's fault? Well, not really. Actually, Viaducton kind of spun on their own, really. I thought there was going to be contact at some point, but no, Viaducton just went for a little spin around Luffield. We've seen that corner causing problems actually in the wet weather conditions, and two very, very important cars were almost in the firing line there. Zolt Prebeck, who is the net race leader in GT3, although he might not be the actual race leader because Unison Racing are starting to save enough fuel to make this possible. And then second of all, the obviously overall race leader as well. There was an LMP2 involved as well. I don't know who it was though.
Yeah, I probably will have to have a look back through that, but it was now one of the things in the meantime. Yes. I think it is the car that is actually ahead of Zolt Prebeck at the moment. I'm just going to go on board with him in a minute. I definitely spot that there's some orange on those side pods of that LMP2 car. But firstly, welcome back to all our viewers on Amazon Fire, Roku, and also on Esports TV. Currently at the moment, we're just going to go through who is leading in the classes with respectively just over an hour and 56 minutes on the clock remaining. Martin Hemmingson still helps at the moment PinSim Drillers Esports to lead the current hypercar class 3 laps ahead of the Omicron Sim Racing crew, the number 80, who finished third last time out at Indianapolis. And also the fact that they are 3 laps ahead at the moment. Varga Sim Racing going for 2 for 2 as well. And that has got Marcel Sinsick behind the wheel of that car. They're just making their way through Luffield and into Copse. In second position is the number 17. That is James Juba, who has just come into the pits. From second place, and in third is the 334 effect. Well, actually, Juba's just come out of the pits as I say that. Chris Gonzalez running in the Fair Racing Team 334 team is João Barbosa right on the back end of the car. Literally, as I scan through the field, João Barbosa is absolutely coming like a freight train behind Chris Gonzalez. They're now going to go through Maggots, Beckett's and Chappell. They've got Martin Hemmingson right behind them, and I think they might have the 41 Mugen Sim Racing McLaren, Zolt Prebeck just up ahead. But that was very, very lucky indeed for Chris Gonzalez as the McLaren gets out of the way, and Martin Hemmingson looking to filter his way through. So that was very close there, wasn't it, Ewan?
Yeah, it is very, very close in LMP2 at the moment. It was actually a free car battle a moment ago, but Mugen Sim Racing have just had to come into the pit lane for their third last stop of this race, I do believe, or maybe second last. No, probably third, although one of those will have to be a shorter stop. So you really have to keep watching to the very final half an hour to find out really how that's going to play out. But no, this is a fantastic fight going on at the moment, and a fantastic performance from João Barbosa today. When he woke up this morning, he was not expecting to be driving this car at all. He was intending to do some GTE practice for some future races that he's got coming up in his schedule, but he's had to divert his attention here to the Film Vault 12 Hours of Silverstone for the EEWC, and he'll be quite glad that he did now as well, because he's having a great race out here. He says he really likes driving the LMP2, he just struggles in traffic a little bit. Well, I've seen no evidence of that today. He's been sublime in the traffic for a GTE driver.
Yeah, very much the case. Talking of GT, nicely brought in there, Ewan. The number 53 of Musto GT Sports, Marco Mazzetti, leads the class at the moment, obviously after dramas for the number 54, who had, I think, every single... They were like literally 3 strikes and you're out of the potential of getting a victory here this afternoon. Well, actually, all the way through the day. And so they got it was effectively that they had a crash, they then made a rejoin, then they returned and were on slicks, and then had a spin and crashed into the, of all cars, the Abstineo Force Polonia 999 LMP2 car, and then got a 60-second stop and go penalty. So they do say that bad things have come in threes for that crew, and they're currently way down the order. And looks like really interesting. I've just been told that João Barbosa has actually flashed Martin Hemmingson of all people in the outright race leader in the number 10 hypercar for pins. That's a bit of team. That's definitely not team communication there.
God, that was very, very close between Pim van Ark and Martin Hemmingson. Pim was trying to look backwards and defend from the car behind there, and so he nearly hit the car in front in doing so. But disaster averted. João Barbosa really a man on a mission at the moment. And by the way, Martin Hemmingson's just had a heart-stopping moment of his own very recently. And if you go to our Twitter account, then you can go and find that replay again, because it's certainly a very tense moment and well worth viewing again. So make sure you go to our Twitter account at GTR24H, I believe it is, and you can find that one very easily indeed. Meanwhile, going towards Brooklands, João Barbosa is on a mission. Going down the inside, he's on a very, very tight line on the wetter part of the racetrack. Has to brake a little bit early to compensate for that fact, and now he falls in behind from Chris Gonzalez there, who's survived the first little threatening moment there. João Barbosa just gave him a little bit of a show of the nose. No real move made, no throwing of down the inside, but he just made sure Chris Gonzalez was very aware of his presence.
Yeah, and he's looking to go towards the outside, heading into Copse Corner, and that really, I think, gave Chris Gonzalez a bit of a scare. But now they're going to go into Maggots and Chapel, and João Barbosa goes towards the right-hand side of the number 334. Oh, smash panels, and that means that João Barbosa loses out a handful of time there. Barbosa went a bit risky going through into Maggots. He kept it pinned to the outside of Gonzalez, but Chris Gonzalez was definitely doing the thou shalt not pass move right there on the number 15 from Juice's Motorsport. That was a hairy moment for João Barbosa.
Yeah, certainly. He had to cut across the little grass section there on the Maggots right-hander, and that's no mean feat in these wet weather conditions. The grass will be very, very slippery indeed, even more so than in the dry conditions, but disaster averted. There's just not a lot of space through there to go side by side. I know that Barbosa had a good run, but there were banging wheels going into that corner, and the way you'd have to change direction, the wet weather conditions, you're going to be sliding about in these prototypes. It's just not something you want to be doing when the track really narrows down, and as it does at that particular portion of the track. So Barbosa was never really going to get through there, but he's going to be a little bit lucky, but he avoided a complete accident there between the two of them.
Right, in the last 10 or so minutes, you and I also noticed that the rain has started to intensify. That's why the drivers are being caught out. But I've just seen footage. Remember I was talking about the 54 Mustang GT Esports car? when the spin actually happened, it was when they came out of the garage, they went onto the slick tarmac in the pit lane, and literally the car spanned 180, and the left side of the BMW hit the left-hand side of the LMP2, which was where they got the 60-second time penalty. I mean, if that's just... I've never seen what's happened there, but Barbosa's still on the move. Look, he's trying to do the old Mansell dummy going into Cop's corner once again. Oh, Gonzalez gets the tail end a little bit happy towards the right-hand side, and Barbosa pounces towards the outside, going into Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Barbosa has got the move done. Well timed, and it was only a case of putting that pressure on there, Ewan, that João Barbosa would be able to get it past Chris Gonzalez, and that was effortlessly done, despite his off-track excursion a lap ago.
Yeah, you may be wondering why, if it turned out so badly for him on the last lap, then why on earth would he try and move into Maggots again? But the difference this time was his exit off of Copse was better, and more importantly, his front wheels were in front of Chris Gonzalez's on the turn-in for that left-hander. That was the real difference. It forced Chris Gonzalez to think twice about throwing his car in there, because he knew he was fighting a losing battle, and in the end he did the smart thing. He decided that he didn't want to end his race there, and that's how it could have ended in the end, so he just decided to back off for the moment and lose this battle to, hopefully for his sake, win the war, which is going to take place over the last 1 hour 45. He's already been given a bit of a break by the way that Barbosa caught that GT car, slowed the Portuguese driver up massively, and now Van Ark is right on the tail of Juicy's Motorsport Club once again, but he's gone around at turn number 3, just pushing a little bit too hard, and he's gone for a bit of a half spin there. He's lost about 5 seconds, and that should be battle over for the moment. It may close up again later on, but Pim Van Ark is going to have a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, that's now increased to the tune of about 6.7 seconds. That was the number 717 Unison racing car that has got Max Bunovic behind the wheel. So yeah, João Barbosa caught him up at a huge rate of knots. And it looks like we're going to actually go to the live stream for the B32 car, currently running just on its 300th lap at the moment. Look at
Look at that!
I know, the pit wall, that's just crazy. It's like, forget disco. Who needs disco when you got a pit wall like that? That's impressive. That just shows the commitment to that these teams make. As once again, I'm just keeping an eye on the 334 Fair Racing team car of Chris Gonzalez, but that is one hell of a setup there at B32 Racing. I think the only words I can say is bravo right about now.
Yeah, they're one of those teams that, of course, share the rig all together in one location. As you can see at the moment, they've got their very own pit wall as well, with B32 Racing branding and disco lights as well, apparently. Yeah, that's their very own stream, by the way, you're seeing on the screen. That's quite incredible, that really. So yeah, bravo to those guys. So yeah, that was a very interesting view into what the B32 Racing guys are doing. They're in 10th place at the moment in the LMP2 category, just over a lap behind the Abstinio Force Polonia 999 car, so they might not be able to get 9th from this race, but either way, bravo on the pit wall there.
Yeah, you can find them on B32 Racing on Facebook. You mentioned the 999 Abstineo Force Polonia. I'm just keeping an eye on what's going on between them and the number 68 of Matt Webb from E-Team Brit. The gap has started coming down, and Martin Pfeiffer was actually just about 0.6 of a second quicker on that previous tour, but the leader's now on lap number 316. So I think at the end of it all, you know, when you spoke to Bradley Brockies from E-Team Brit earlier, you know, they were hoping for a top 7 if possible, but looking at the lap times from ProSim at the moment, they're lapping about 1.3 seconds quicker than E-Team Brit in these conditions, which look to be even more degrading even more rapidly because the rainfall has intensified. There were absolutely huge rooster tails coming from the McLaren Senna of Martin Hemmingson in the number 10 Drillers Esports car just at the turn of the hour. So I think this rain is a little bit more intense than what we've seen so far.
Yeah, it seems to be the case just because of the mistakes that we're starting to see from some of these guys, and that is kind of expected in the wet weather conditions, really. You do often get the extra level of mistakes now and again, and that's what we see. The lap times haven't deteriorated too much, so it's not slowing them down that much, but I guess overall with the mistakes they're making, it is very wide for one of the Aston Martins going through the final corner there. I think that's Unison Racing again, as I'm watching what the Juices Motorsport Club car pull away from a Fair Racing team. Chris Gonzalez losing 7 seconds on the last lap due to that spin that they had. They might have even lost more. Yeah, 1.5 seconds more lost from Chris Gonzalez that time. Yeah, not particularly good news for them. But Juices Motorsport Club have not got this podium deal signed just for the moment, because Mugen Sim Racing might be able to play their way in terms of the strategy, unless João Barbosa can stretch this another 10 minutes. Then we know he's only making 2 more pit stops in this race, so are Mugen. But if they have to pit, let's say next lap, then they're going to be in trouble, and they'll have to make 3 pit stops more as well.
Right, well, before we go to actually an interview very shortly, I've just noticed, Ewan, that Steven Salsgaard in the 777 from DSR Nightmare, they've had another nightmare because the car's in the garage, it's showing it's a DNF, and that could be another 3-lap penalty for them right about now. I'm actually just looking, the car is sitting in the garage, the wipers going on that car. They are in stone dead last in LMP2. That's been a real shame for them, because they were fighting in the top 10 earlier on. So as James Juba from the number 7 Pinsim Drillers Esports LMP2 car now pits from 2nd position, and I think he's just coming out of the pits. But we're now going to go to an interview, and I'm now going to bring in from Juices Motorsport, if I can. Don't know if that's going to. Let's just see. Let's have a chat from, with Juices Motorsport, Tern Lower. Tern, good to have you with us. You guys must have been when João made that move on Chris Gonzalez in the Fair Racing Team 334. That was an epic move, despite he tried on the first time going through maggots.
Yeah, it was really great. Everyone sharing in the team speak was insane.
And obviously, it was a difficult first race in Indianapolis for you guys, but obviously yourself, João, Luca as well. You guys have really come together. I've been hearing some whispers from Nick Newcomb that Luca's been quite instrumental with helping with the setup of the car, and Nick was also informing me that you guys were hoping it was going to rain, and now that started sort of playing to your favour, hasn't it?
Yeah, we made the setup completely in the rain on this intermediate wet setup. Oh yeah, dry. So in the dry we were still on the pace, which we were quite surprised, and now it's coming back to us.
And obviously you guys are definitely in the hunt for a podium. I think P3 is not what you're wanting to go for. I think you guys are wanting for a little bit more than that. Of course we know that Vargas Sim Racing have sort of quite literally checked out, but do you think it's going to be an easy task or a difficult task in the next hour and 40 minutes to close up to the guys at Drillers Pinsim Drillers Esports?
I don't think we get there. Yeah, still a lap front, and James, I think, is in the car. He's super quick, so it will be difficult. We're going to try, but still.
That's what I like, a team that never gives up. You're going to try your hardest and give it 110%. Tern Lower from Juices Motorsport Club, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for the podcast.
So a big thank you to Tern Lower there for joining us here in the broadcast room. Really interesting there, Ewan, that he said that effectively with regards to the fight for 2nd position in LMP2 with Vargas Sim Racing and Marcel Sinchik out there by a clear county mile. He said that they're going to try, and that's what we like here at GTR 24. Is they want drivers that are going to try their absolute damnedest to try and get up as high the order as possible. And we still have 4 more rounds after this with Sebring in a month's time.
Yeah, absolutely. Still many more opportunities for them to try. So yeah, we look forward to seeing that. And their battles for today are not over by any stretch of the imagination. Now, while we were on that driver interview there, I was monitoring things up and down the field. Two huge things have actually taken place here. One of which has had a little bit of consequence, but not really. The second of which has had a massive consequence. First of all, and less importantly, Varga Sim Racing were off briefly while we were at that interview. Didn't see what happened to Marcel Chinzik, but the yellow flag was attributed to his name for a little bit of time. His lead has been slashed now, but it's still 1 lap and a half, so he should be okay despite that spin. But more importantly, and even more dramatically, Unison Racing have been caught up in an incident with an LMP2 car, according to Alexander Zakirov in the YouTube chat. He said that one of the LMP2 cars came and interrupted their day, let's say, and so they have completely fallen quite a way behind Mugen Sim Racing, trying to get a view on that gap at the moment, and I would say it's about half a lap. So Unison Racing have lost quite a fair bit of time in a little incident they've had with an LMP2. Didn't see what happened. I'm afraid it's probably, maybe, put paid to their chances of winning this race.
And they'd come in from Indianapolis after what had happened to, this opens up GT3 quite significantly. And the people that are going to profit from it, funny enough, is the team that had disaster in the last hour at Indianapolis. And that was the number 41 of Mugen Sim Racing, who now, at this particular moment in time, have Zolt Briebeck behind the wheel. And Zolt was one of their standout drivers. He's currently running in the 2-minute 12s. And just looking at the lap times here, as Sebastian Ho from the Danish Racing League is showing in the pits apparently. From GT3, that is from the final step of the rostrum, and they're a lap ahead of Cyril Malbrun in the One Move Esports number 26. So still plenty to play for, but in that sort of respect, the 717 is now on the back foot. This is still going to help their championship run. And let's not forget that the number 41 still finished third in GT3 after Indianapolis.
Yeah, I believe with the way it's going right now, they're going to reduce the championship margin that Unison Racing have to just 1 point heading into Sebring, and that really does whet the appetite for the final 4 races, staying very, very close in GT3. I'm afraid I have to bring more bad news, because DSR Nightmare, I believe, has become an official retirement, with Steven Salsgaard having a number of issues towards the end of this race for that car. They have now dropped right to the bottom of our timing sheets, and I think they are out of this race alongside the Simulator Esports number 27 GT3 car and the number 7 Pescara ADG GTE car. So Hypercar are the only ones with now still 100% of those cars still in the race, but the other 3 categories have seen 1 casualty, bringing us down to 30 cars circulating out there on the circuit with about 90 minutes to go.
Yeah, so just over 1 hour and 36 minutes still remaining on the clock here as we fast approach the business end of the Film Vault 12 Hours of Silverstone here, live and uninterrupted on GTR 24H. The time is now approaching 10:25 p.m. Oh, now there's been a massive incident involving a LMP
Varga
spinning off.
It was Varga.
I think that was coming out of possibly Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. And that car has started to get going again. So someone's had more than just a bit of an excursion. That was nigh on mowing the grass a la Valtteri Bottas, like he did Austria, I think, last year after securing a position. So, it's getting really tricky out there now, Ewan, isn't it?
It really is. So going into Maggots there, Marcel Chinzik again, he's off for his second spin in the space of 10 minutes, and his lead is getting eaten into all the time. I know he's still got over a lap's lead, but he doesn't want to be doing that too often. Just went a little bit wide through the first part of Maggots, caught on the grass, and then went for a huge spin. So nearly collected the Danish Racing League car as well. He was very lucky to get away with that. But in the end, he's got no damage. He's just had a spin and he's got going again, but he's going to be puffing out his cheeks. That could have been so much worse.
that could have been the possibility that the car could have severed possible terminal damage. So I think Marcel Cinsic is counting his lives right about now. But it's all about the important gap between James Juba and Marcel Cinsic as to how quickly the number 17 from Pin Sim Drillers Esports is closing on the 117 of Varga Sim Racing. It is rather interesting, though, that these wet weather conditions, because of the greasiness of the track, as soon as rainfall hits the track, Ewan, the biggest thing from the team's perspectives is the case of how are we going to compensate for this? Are we going to lower the tyre pressures? Are we going to up the tyre pressures? What compound do we need of the wet tyres now that the rain has started coming back again? Or do we chance it and stay out on slicks, or if there are availability for intermediates? How they can really pay their strategy. But James Juba has just been an absolute machine, and the massive rooster tail I've just seen off the back of the 17, it's like literally no one can really sort of just by looking at it on screen as Juba comes around past the BLDC clubhouse through Woodcote and Luffield and then heading into Cops Corner. It's rather interesting on that respect, and I think that Cinsic, just keeping an eye on his times, Juba probably hasn't made that much of a detriment into it, as Juba's actually gone off a little bit. He's actually, he's had a moment through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. So James Juba, the rain is really trying to catch out the drivers, and even the top tier drivers so far are really struggling. The weather's getting worse. I can just see it by the visuals on my screen right now.
It does seem that the rain has just started to fall more heavily. Now, on live timing, as Matt Webb's gone for a little spin now, where on earth is that? I would add. He stopped actually out there on the circuit, but I don't know where. This is the exit. Oh, that's a scary place. It's the club chicane. That was James Zuber just going through on him. And so Matt Webb just rejoins the circuit. Now has his lead. Oh, yes, this gap has closed massively now. Martin Pfeiffer has really closed, and that's not good news for Matt Webb at all. A spin for ProSim as well. They're in the wall at Luffield. This rain is coming down much heavier. You're absolutely right at this point. On the stream right now, you can see at the top of your screen, it says 2 millimeters an hour is falling. I don't really know how much rain that is, but I can see the maximum wetness of the track on my screen right now. It's 88%. That's nearly as bad as it gets, obviously.
Well, I've just been informed by James Hall, the sporting manager of Team Brit. They've just had contact. Someone's hit them. So this track, if you're saying that there's an 88% saturation point here right now at this circuit, that is going to cause absolute dramas. DIS SR Lab in the 45 have just pitted from P2 in GTE. The dramas are definitely coming thick and fast here at the Film Vault 12 hours. Just also a bit of news before we go to a short commercial break, that Film Vault themselves will actually give a medal to every single team that wins P1 in each class in this race. A big thank you to Film Vault for backing the 12 hours of Silverstone round 2 of 6. But it will also have an engraved team name on it. That just shows how welcome this kind of support is well needed here in the sim racing community, wouldn't you say, Ewan?
New incident report.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good that we do get those kind of things these days, because even a few years ago, this kind of thing wouldn't be possible. Obviously, the events of 2020 has kind of heightened sim racing's importance somewhat, but it's good to see that it's retained some of that importance as we moved forward past those times just a little bit. But just before we do go to ad breaks, by the way, ProSim have been off, as I mentioned. They've got no front wing, no front bumper, and no front assembly on that car at the moment, and so they're slowly making their way back to the pit lane and just unlapping themselves from that car. Matt Webb and Martin Pfeiffer, they're almost nose to tail at the moment. The gap is closing. Likewise it is for the two Volante cars in that battle for the final step on the podium. It's all going on in this race at the moment.
Well, I mean, just trying to put two and two together, you said that ProSim had got front splitter damage. Is that right, Ewan?
They're going very slowly, and to me, it doesn't look like they've got it. Although it's difficult to see, I would add, it doesn't look like they. Although that looks like they have. From some angles, it looks like they have. Some angles, it doesn't. So, I don't know. But they were driving very, very slowly back to the pit lane. That's for sure.
Yeah, so ProSim currently in the pits. James Hall again from E-Team Brit has just messaged me saying that it was another LMP2 car. So if ProSim are in there for a significant amount of time, they were battling. They could have been battling for position. That would have been, well, yeah. Matt Webb is currently 35 seconds behind and closing on ProSim. So my biggest, we're going to keep with this for just a moment, because this could mean that E-Team Brit could end up in P7 in LMP2. The gap is absolutely dropping like a proverbial stone. And Matt Webb just coming up to try and put a move on the number 717 Unison racing car in GT3. Gets through, makes the move, and there still remains the ProSim car. And now here comes Matt Webb. That gap has now gone down, and E-Team Brit head into P7 as ProSim. That's an incredibly long time. That would explain the fact that they've had to effect repairs there, Ewan.
I'm pretty sure they have had to make some repairs there, I'm afraid. So terrible news for those guys at ProSim, who were having such a good run in P7 in this race, but now that has gone down to, and they're outside of the top 10 overall. They've got to worry about B32 racing as well before long, so hopefully for those guys they can get their car fixed before long, and they'll be back out there very, very shortly. Meanwhile, I think the Volante Racing Pass has actually happened further back, because the 66 is now in front again of the 67 as ProSim have gone into the garage.
Well, with that now being said, here at GTR 24H, we're going to go to a brief commercial break with some words from our sponsors. We'll be back in just a couple of moments.
The 2021 Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 2, Filmvolt 12 Hours of Silverstone, is brought to you in partnership with ESTV, Leak Gaming, SimLab, Motorvision.tv, Global Flix, Racing for Green, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
Welcome back to the continuing coverage of the last hour and 24 minutes or so of the Film Vault 12 Hours of Silverstone here, live and uninterrupted on GTR 24H. My name is Alex Goldschmidt, joined once again by Ewan O'Leary. Ewan, a couple of developments happening, most notably with the Danish Racing League number 13 of Matthias Blom, who went for a bit of an off-track excursion, I understand.
It seems to be the case that more than one car has been off for an off-track excursion, really. The conditions are getting very, very tricky out there, and it doesn't show any signs of getting any less tricky. In fact, the opposite. I think it's raining harder than it has been for quite a few hours now, and this is exactly not what you need after 10.5 hours of racing. But multiple spins. I saw the one for DSR Dream Team 766 Michael Ciccolini, I think, has been for a big spin, I'm afraid, at Cops, that was. And that's not really a place you want to be having one of those spins, because you're not often going very slowly through there, and the wall's not all that far away, so you don't have small accidents around there. Fortunately, Ciccolini was able to actually avoid all forms of barriers that were in his way, but that's another car off I've just seen go off behind the fourth placed Chivan Balau car, but I don't know quite who that was. Either way, as we mentioned though, a lot of people struggling, lots of spins going out there, and it's hard to know where to point the cameras because there's just so much going on.
There is indeed, especially for our production and broadcast team. A big credit to them, also to Race Control so far. Now, we did mention about the what Film Vault is going to be providing to the team. So let's see if we can actually give you an idea of exactly what these engraved medals will look like, courtesy of our sponsors here, Film Vault. You can just see they will be engraved with the team names as well, and that's quite nice to see. We were mentioning it just before the commercial break, Ewan, but look at that, a good old steering wheel with the engraved name of the team finishing in the respective positions tonight here at the Film Vault 12 Hours of Silverstone.
Yeah, very smart looking trophy there. So that's what's up for grabs for the winners of each class. We should reiterate. Hypercar, LMP2, GT, and GT3 winners will all get one. I presume it's I don't actually know if it's individual drivers that get one or if it's one team gets one. But yeah, Film Vault providing us with those, and title sponsor of this race as well, because it's the Film Vault 12 Hours of Silverstone. Instead of all the other races which are not titled, Film Vault have attached their name to this one, and we thank them very much for supporting the organisation as a whole, and supporting all these teams and drivers as well, giving everyone that last little bit of incentive, as if they needed it, to perform even better than they already are at the moment.
Yes, they're definitely driving out of their skin, and it's just going to be rather interesting how these drivers really perform to the absolute limit. We know that that's been happening over the last over 10.5 hours as such, and I think we could be in line. I think we may be having an interview very, very shortly with one of the drivers, but it's just been really interesting so far how the race is unfolding, and we saw that the rain was going to come. It has come. It's decided to throw a curveball from the picture to everybody, and everyone's had to react with split-second timing. But it looks like, I think we're going to be going to an interview now. I think Ewan, you're going to be speaking to Abstineo Force Polonia's Jeff Closer, I think.
Yeah, I've just moved him in, so yeah, we'll have a bit of a chat to Jeff Closer from the 999 car. Welcome along. How are things within the team at the moment? You're inside the top 10 overall, having a decent race in LMP2. So how are you guys feeling with the last 1 hour and 20 in front of you?
Hello, first of all. Actually, it's going pretty well for us after having one of the worst starts to a race someone could have. I don't know if anyone saw that. Yeah,
we did see, it has to be said.
I think we were like 2 or 3 laps down on the last guy ahead of us. But Mika and Marine did a crazy job and fight those laps back and be close to P7 now even is a miracle for us.
New incident report.
Yeah, you've had a fantastic recovery, I have to say. I did write you off even for a top 10 when those issues did before you, but obviously you've shown that's a good point. But I'm sure there were a lot of people writing you off at that point, but now you've recovered really, really well. Just if we can go back to that point now, what kind of thing, what went wrong for you guys in the first couple of hours of this race, which has set you back so much?
After my stints, our second driver, Callum Hamley, was supposed to drive. He did so, but he had a very high ping. And yeah, he got parted off by lag and had to pit again. We did in the pits, got a stop and go, went to pits again, got a drive for something else. Then we said, alright, better swap drivers again before we get qualified for that high ping, because that was really dangerous. Yeah, until Mika got in, we were like 3 laps down already.
Yeah, it was not the best start of the race for you guys. Now, I want to go back even further, actually, to even before the race. How did you guys prepare for the wet weather driving that was widely predicted, or did you not actually prepare for it? Is it? Well, I guess it's not come as a shock to you, but how was your preparation for driving in the wet weather for this race?
I have to admit we knew it could possibly rain, but we didn't really practice it. But Mariah did an amazing job nailing the pit stop for it and keeping the pace up.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys are in a battle at the moment with E-Team Brit. It's going on pretty fiercely between you guys. Who do you think is going to come out on top of that? Do you have a realistic chance of beating out E-Team Brit by the end of this race tonight?
If we are able to keep the car on the track, which is, from what I've heard from our drivers, is really hard right now, there's a chance of definitely, but it's hard. We were lucky with the Instant team having damage, so yeah.
Yeah, certainly it's going to be difficult for you, but I wish you the best of luck, and yeah, thanks for talking to us as well. Just one more thing that I nearly forgot to do. Have you got any sponsors that you'd like to shout out before you leave us?
I'm not sure really. Because I'm the team owner, I'm just one of the drivers.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That is fair enough. Either way, Jeff Close, thanks very much for coming to talk to us. It's been a pleasure, and I wish you luck with the rest of the race.
Thank you.
There you go, Alex Jeff Closer from the 999 team in LMP2, having a good recovery race at the moment. While that was going on, though, I was watching Vargas Sim Racing, and I've seen them have 2 spins on this lap. It's just not going well for the LMP2 leaders at the moment.
No, it seems to be going from bad to worse, to be completely honest with you. In the meantime, obviously, Abstineo Force Bologna battling away with Team Brit, E-Team Brit. Well, team manager Max Spooner has now made his entrance into the Film Vault 12 Hours of Silverstone, and Spooner currently is around about 50 or so seconds behind at this particular moment in time. So having now made a mandatory pit stop. And now I've just had confirmation that Max Spooner is in for the next hour and a quarter. He is bringing the number 68 car home for the team. Established back in mid-2019, Max Spooner joined initially as a driver, and then in 2020 got promoted to the team manager position. So really good to hear from Bradley Rockies earlier on in the race itself. And yeah, I think just realistically, if Max Spooner's got to try and get up to speed rather quickly to see if he can catch Martin Pfeiffer from the 999 Abstineo Force Bologna car. However, they may have the 999 might still have to make another pit stop, couldn't they?
We're in the final hour and a half of this race now, so I think, yeah, 999 have got 2 stops remaining, and I think Team E Brit, have got 1. However, this last pit stop for 999 is going to be slightly shorter than it is for E-Team Brit. So while the 68 are going to come out ahead of the 999 when we see them next on the same, when we see them with both one stop remaining, then the Team Brit are going to be in front, but they have to be stationary for a little bit longer on their final stop, which is going to possibly jump them behind the 999. I think it's going to be quite close between them, if I'm honest, so it's going to be a fight right down to the flag for what's going to be 7th place in LMP2, I do believe.
Yeah, E-Team Brit not having any points last time out at Indianapolis, apart from the bonus point for them still to make their way to the end of 12 hours of racing. They're looking to make it 2 for 2, so a 100% success rate of finishing races so far. We're coming up to an hour and 14 minutes on the clock, and the time now is it's just gone 22:47 Central European time, and then we go into the golden hour, the final 60 minutes. And so with that in mind, I'm just going to briefly run through the leaders in all 4 classes at the moment. Martin Hemmingsen and Pinsim Jolas Esports again in, and actually as I say that, we've just had, now I noticed that ProSim were in the garage earlier on. They DNF'd. They've now had to rejoin the server, and they have been pinged with a 3-lap penalty from race control as a result of that. So B32 Racing really have not, they've incurred the wrath. I think that makes it at least 2 or 3 teams that have had that, I think overall, at the very least, Ewan, that have had to rejoin. Obviously, the biggest moment that I think we saw was the Musto car, the 54 car, which has still got Fabio Liuzzi behind the wheel, where they had a connection issue, rejoined, got put on slicks, lit the tyres up going out of the garage and spun around and hit Avsineo Force Polonia, and then got a 60-second stop and go penalty. There's quite a few drivers, but at the moment the hypercars have not had any of that issue that we saw last time out at Indianapolis.
They've both had very clean races, which is quite rare for a top category in an endurance race to see all of the cars having totally clean races. They're passing so many throughout the race. They will pass about, because of the 33 car entry list we had for this one, there's 2 of them, so they've got to pass 31 cars. And in the stretch of a stint, I think they'd pass the GTs about 5 or 6 times. They passed the LMP2s once or twice, and that's very difficult maths for me to do right now. But it's certainly a lot of passing, and when you're doing that amount during a 12-hour race, you're bound to get tired, and you're bound to make mistakes as well. They can be very costly when you're in the top category of an endurance race. So for both of those teams to have a near-perfect race is absolutely fantastic performances from both of them. Unfortunately for us, Drillers Esports have been a lot quicker than Omicron this particular race, and they're closing up on the number 80 to put the 5th lap on that team, which is a bit of a shame to see for those guys, but either way, it's been a good performance from both to have totally clean races pretty much.
Yeah, the current leaders, the number 10 Pinsim Drillers Esports, have completed over 1,150 miles in total race distance, and they're on their 316th lap. Leading LMP2, obviously, despite the off-track excursions, Marcel Sinzig now actually responding to the forever forward and moving forward, in fact, James Juba in the 17 Pinsim Drillers Esport car. They lead the LMP2 class first and second respectively, ahead of Pim van Ark in the Fair Racing team, the 334. Then we go to GT. Marco Massetti in the 53 Musto GD Esports car leads ahead of Shivan Balu in the number 67 Volante Racing Aston Martin in second place, with the number 45 DIS SR Lab GTE Porsche running at the top 3 in GTE. And it looks like, Max Bunovic in the 717 Unison Racing car still leading, has actually taken back the lead, as Zolt Pribek in second position is about 11.7 seconds adrift in what is the battle for effective. Well, hang on. Sorry, my apologies there. I think I've got myself a little bit mixed up. It is actually Pribek that leads in GT3, and 26.5 seconds behind is the Unison Racing 717 of Max Bunovic. Rounding out the top three, it is Cyril Malbrun in the number 26 One Move Esports Ferrari. And still, this rain has not abated at all, Ewan. I think this is going to be here for the rest of the race.
Oh yeah, certainly. It's once again got heavier, 6 millimeters an hour, according to the graphic on the top of your screen. And 92% wetness at the maximum, and that'll be offline wetness. But on the line, it won't quite be as bad as that. But you think about it. The prototypes have to go on these wetter lines, the 92% wetness line, to overtake the GT cars. So if your GT car, it might not seem quite as wet, but they get pushed offline too as well. And when you do get pushed offline, whether it's by design because you're passing another car or whether you're pushed there by another car, it can be a bit of a shock, and it can be very, very sketchy as well. So difficult moments for all of these guys out there, but it's a very, very wet racetrack, and it's really coming down almost as heavy as it has at any point in this race. And we have another race control notification. Car 117, the Varga Sim Racing car, drove too fast into a corner and hit two cars, giving them another penalty. Well, I'll say another penalty, but it's another thing going wrong for them in the final few laps of this race. Now the leading gap that they have is below a lap for the first time I can remember since the start of since the first hour of the race, really. And I just received a video. We've just received a video of it, Alex. So I'm just going to give this a quick watch.
I've just seen it, and what happened was that Varga Sim Racing went in between the middle of one of the GTE Porsches. I think the other car that was involved was Max Bunovic in the 717 Unison Racing car. So that's why they're down in second position, 23.3 seconds off. Because literally, it was a move that I'm just looking at it again. I just cannot believe that has happened. That was definitely. I'm wondering if that was the possibly. Yeah, because effectively, what's happened is that. Oh my goodness! I cannot believe that Marcel Cintiq has just tried to split the cars. He's gone to the outside of the Porsche. He's then gone inside to try and cut across the Porsche, and then he's tagged Bunovic and span him around, I think. So that was quite a. That's definitely, and I don't think we'll not go without a reprimand. There will be a reprimand coming, I fear, for that kind of manoeuvre.
I think that's kind of what the message is about. It might be a drive-through penalty that they've been given for it, maybe. But yeah, I think Cintiq, and he's in the pit lane now. I'm just going to go and watch to see if that is indeed the drive-through, or he's stopping in his box actually. So this might be a normal pit stop. It might be a penalty stop. Wait and find out in the next few moments. But he went down the inside of two cars. It was free wide going into the chicane there, and just ever so slightly drifted it over towards the right hand side where two cars were. The Porsche had nowhere to go, clipped the right rear of the Varga car, spun it around, and that spun the LMP2 car into another car, which was the Unison Racing GT3. So a bit of a dominoes effect, all caused by Varga in the end, as judged by the stewards. A bit of a squeeze to the right hand side of the race circuit.
Yeah, I think that's not. I think that move wasn't on anyway. It was just that kind of thing. But it looks like we've got another driver joining us in the interview booth, and I think Ewan, who's our next interviewee?
Now we are joined by Jeroen Kweekel, one of the drivers for Drillers Esports, I do believe. Yeah, and the LMP2 side of things as well from that two-car effort. Jeroen, you're in a bit of a battle at the moment with the likes of Varga Sim Racing, who have just dropped down the order massively in the standings for some reason or another. I don't exactly know what that's about, but how are things down at Drillers at the moment? And yeah, how are the team feeling as you generally walk, as everybody goes towards the final hour of the race, which we're nearly at right now?
Yeah, hello. I think we're feeling pretty good. Obviously, it was known well before the race that at some point, we were gonna have some rain. It came later than I expected, to be fair, but it came in the end. But no issues there. Dealing with that nicely, and I. Was gone for 1.5 hours, leaving the job to James really to finish it off here. But coming back, I also heard that there are some issues with Varga, and they also had an incident with a GT car, if I'm not mistaken. So they seem to be dropping back a bit, but I don't think we can get too excited yet. It's going to take a little bit of a miracle, perhaps, to beat them, because they have been in a league of their own all day.
Yeah, they were in a league of their own in Indianapolis as well. They've been really strong so far, but you've finally been able to take it to them, really, and try and break their winning streak, which they've got going on in GTR 24H at the moment. Now, on the championship entry list, you're actually entered in for the hypercar on this particular entry list, but you've decided to, or your team has decided to put you in for the LMP2. Who's made that decision, and why are you driving the LMP2 at the moment, as opposed to driving the hypercar?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a weird one, because there were never talks that I was gonna do the hypercars.
Oh,
I have no idea how it got there, but I'm watching the live timing as well, and for some reason Varga has dropped to P6. I don't know if that's just a bug or whether something is going on there. So that seems to be a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out ourselves at the moment, actually, because they've still got 334 laps, which would put them in the lead, but apparently not. So we'll see about that. We'll get to the bottom of that in the next few moments for everybody and update you on that. But yeah, we'll see about that one. If so, it means you're in the lead. If not, then you're in second place, and we'll find out sooner rather than later in the last hour, then, providing that Varga are in the lead right now, as we think they are, and with the gap that you've got in front of you at the moment, do you think there's any kind of possibility that you can catch them at this point, or are you just consolidating the second place that you've got right now?
No, we are indeed consolidating. If the situation stays as I think it is, so then leading by quite a margin, then I don't see anything happening. Mainly because nothing against my teammate, of course, James, but Varga has just been in a league of their own. Not only this race, but also last race. So yeah, we just have to accept that. And if you want to do something about that, then especially in these conditions, you're gonna risk making mistakes. So it's better to just stay composed, stay calm, and accept that today is perhaps not the day.
Yeah, absolutely. But considering everything that's happened, you started well down the order. Let's not forget your team. So, are you considering P2 as a good result, if that is indeed what it's going to be for you today?
Yeah, I do think so. I think it's the best possible, especially again, like you said, also after starting from near last. So we had to get through the GT feud as well in the beginning. We were roughly 20 to 30 seconds behind P2 at one stage in the race, and now we are P2 ourselves. So yeah, that's the best. That's the best we can do today.
Yeah, certainly. And one more thing as well, before we let you go, have you got any sponsors you'd like to, or people you'd like to shout out before you leave us?
Good question. I just want to say hello to my teammates, of course, over at Drillers Esports, especially Jan Wosnica, who has been driving quite well, I think, in the hypercar, and it is his first race in the long while. So props to him. Props, of course, as well to you guys here in the booth, and also to the organizers. Thanks for everything, and all the best, of course.
Yeah, thank you, and we wish you all the best as well. Thanks very much, Jeroen, for coming to talk to us, and I wish you luck with the rest of the race.
Yeah, cheers. Have a good one.
There you go, Joan Quickle from the Drillers Esports LMP2 team. They're coming to talk to us. I'm hearing reports, by the way, Nick Newcomb has just informed me that the lead lap of LMP2 is actually 336 laps right now, contrary to what it says on the live timing. Deuces are 1 lap behind on 335 laps. Varga are now 3 laps down, according to Nick, and so they are actually down. That is legitimate. They are actually in P6, and I believe that is actually true, that they have let this race just slip away just a little bit. He said after the stop, looks like there's just been issues for them, so maybe their laps are correct. I'm unsure as to what laps they're actually on at this point, but all you need to know is the laps on the timing are a little bit out, and Varga have had a few issues, which means they've lost a few.
Yeah, and with that bombshell being dropped here in LMP2, it's now time to go for a commercial break ahead of the golden hour, the final hour of the Film Vault 12 Hours of Silverstone here live on GTR 24H. Back in a moment.
The 2021 Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 2, Film Vault 12 Hours of Silverstone, is brought to you in partnership with ESTV, Leak Gaming, SimLab, Motorvision.tv, Global Flix, Racing for Green, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.